this is where it starts for me. I'm going to talk about taking risk in art, and I do hundreds and hundreds of these types of drawings, comic in nature, and I was interested in pushing this further or taking it into a new direction. So I cut them all up and I made this, and that's, thank you.
You don't have to bend over.
And I made this. This is about 4 feet by 3 feet, and it's over, I don't know, 300 drawings. Because I was interested in abstraction. Every time I've tried to do it with paint, it's been not worked. And so those took forever, drawing and then making. So I started putting in found paper along with the drawings and realized that I could pack it with a lot of information with the paper that the found paper that I used. And the scale also got larger. These started to become 9 feet by 14 feet. I found that I could work much bigger. And they became very map-like. And that brought me to a place of, I grew up in Detroit, and so I started thinking of when I was a kid and I would skateboard through the city and see a lot of music shows. And so the music and the empty city and the vacant buildings and skating through them is what was fueling these collages and the story behind them. And I started packing the information which could be read in the collage. And at the same time, I was reading John Cage's Silence and looking at graphic score. And I thought, what would these sound like? What would be the soundtrack for these pieces? So I went through a lot of different ways of how I would do that, put shower curtains over and tried to make like a score and actually like write it as music to be performed. And none of that worked really. So what I did was found musicians to work with and had them write score for each one of the pieces. And these are the musicians. There's Brad and Jeff and Steven on guitar there. And I wanted it to be reflective of the music that I was listening to at the time, which is, you know, largely punk rock. And so they agreed to come up with the music for each one of the pieces. And then, since the idea was coming from John Cage, he staged happenings, so I sort of wanted to do the same thing. So what I did was hung the pieces, one in front of the other, in a gymnasium in Montpelier at Vermont College of Fine Art. And I cut them all apart while the music was being performed. And I was composing, as I was cutting the pieces apart, I was walking in between and cutting from individual, like composing as they were coming apart. And it was important that I did it in a gymnasium because I sort of, just the physicality of art and how it is like, especially at this size, can be an athletic endeavor. And it was also a cathartic experience and one that I was, again, coming from Cage, mindful of the the Buddhist idea of impermanence. And like when I started it, I knew that I was going to cut it all up and then take it back to the studio and remake it, to then again put it up, cut it all up, take it back to the studio, and remake it. And that part of it, and so at the end of the happening, as we'd call it, all that would be left was the musicians playing the music for each one of the pieces. And so, as much as it was, you know, about impermanence, there was also this idea of protest in a way, a protest piece of just the commodification of art, and that there could be a space created where it could be purely about creation, or what we are or what art is going to look like after capitalism. You know, this is like, because capitalism is going to fail, and it's not going to be because of art, and it's going to be on its own terms, capitalism. And then, so what is art going to look like after that, when there's no more buying and selling? And that's an interesting place for me to think about. And this is an interesting way to approach that, where initially it was kind of getting the anger of that out. But I think it's just to go into the studio and not have to be original, and not think about what what gallery you're in, and just to make art on, I wouldn't say on art's terms, but just to get to the heart of creation. But this is also about, so this is back, and I'm remaking it now to do it again, but ultimately it's going to become, we're going to press the music on vinyl, and then the collage will become the cover for the album, for the vinyl album, you know, so it will see an end. And that's, in its current, it's opening up. So about collaboration, experimentation, taking risks to see where the art can go, to push it further, to open it up, to take it in places you would never imagine it could go.